Please open up the model that we've already built involving the involving the heart disease and smoking from this morning, if you could. This is the one that we finished up the last stage of just before lunch. So you will recall within this model, we have two state charts. A smoking state chart, which captures concerns related to smoking, and a heart disease state chart. The heart disease state chart and the smoking state chart are coupled. How are they coupled together? How does the smoking state chart currently influence the heart disease state chart? Remember, we saw it before lunch. What happens? Through what mechanism does it influence heart disease? Yeah, through this variable, we have a differential hazard rate here. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to do, this is the easiest route to do this quickly, because I want to go through this and a few additional pieces. We are going to add mortality transitions. I need to just speak more gently. We're going to add mortality transitions into this model. We will do so through a classic means in any logic, where we're going to have transitions added to something known as, ominously, as the final state. Okay, we're going to add a palette in here, add our palette. We want to see our palette be visible. We're going to here have the palette, and I'd like to add in transitions to the heart disease area. I would remind you that if anyone wants to use my model, it is uploaded to the website for the models built-in class, and you should be able to obtain it from there in case you want to start with my model and start afresh. Otherwise, you should be able to use your model. We're going to add two transitions, and they will go to a thing that looks somewhat like the Death Star. Not coincidentally, I suppose. So we're going to go connect these both, there we go, to the Death Star, okay? We're going to have the possibility of mortality from heart disease and from no heart disease. And as you might expect, heart disease will raise the risk of a person's mortality. Okay. Now, like with so many of these models, I seek to communicate a few points of learning with each. And it would cause me to blush to try to represent mortality without some sort of age-specific effect. Mortality rates rise by age in pronounced and marked ways. And we're going to want to have this, have these transitions, therefore, exhibit hazard rates that vary by a person's age. But where is age in this model? Does anyone see it? No. Ladies and gentlemen, would it be acceptable for this model to simply assume that everyone has a specific age and just keep that age throughout the model? That would lock face plausibility. We're capturing effects over the life course. We can't just assume everyone has an age and that age stays constant. So what are we going to have to do? Ladies and gentlemen, what we're going to need to do is here add in, for this transition, we're going to need to have these transitions be associated with some sort of age-specific outcomes. And the easiest way is to make these transitions what are called rate transitions. They depend on a hazard rate and have that hazard rate vary by age. With your leave, I'd like to do so. So we're going to call this transition, we're going to show the name, and we're going to want to call this here non-heart disease mortality, okay? We are, and I'm sorry, it scrolled off. Where'd it go? It must be, there it is. So we're going to have non-heart disease mortality associated with this upper transition. And with this lower transition, we're going to have heart disease mortality, okay? Here we go. Okay? Okay. Both of them need to be rate transitions. What is that rate? That's the rub. Because it will depend, ladies and gentlemen, on the age of an individual. Okay? So we're going to have a mortality rate that is specific to age. This age-specific mortality rate is something that we're going to specify within a construct known as a table function. Okay? It's going to allow us to look up for their current age, what is the mortality rate that applies. Okay? For the moment, as a placeholder, we're going to abstract away from that, and on a temporary basis, what we're going to put in here for these rates is a simple placeholder where we'll have the risk of heart disease-related mortality be 0.04, and we will have non-heart disease mortality be 0.01. Okay? So in short, there'll be a hazard rate ratio associated with heart disease, which is 4 times, is 4, relative to the reference group of non-heart disease individuals. I'm putting those in there as placeholders. I'm going to work to incorporate age into the model in just a moment. Okay. But I want to draw your attention to the key point that this is trying to communicate, a key point associated with network, with dynamics of the population. Because when people transition to this state, we need something to happen. What needs to happen to them when they reach this death state? It says final state, and let's call it death. What happens there? They have to leave the population. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the key thing I want you to carry away from this. Glossing over the details of exactly how we capture death and if it's age-specific or not, the key thing is I want you to know how to capture the fact they need to be removed from the population. And in fact, there are 2 ways of doing this in any logic. Option 1, we will do the following. We are going to tell any logic, tell the model, and I'll be more crisp than that we are that an individual has to be removed from the whole population. And in order to do this, we need to tell the thing responsible for maintaining the population. Wherein does the population live? Wheretofore is the population within this model? It's in Maine. So this is going to have something to do with Maine. And one thing you'll notice here, if you go and you scroll over within the agent, there's a pointer to Maine here. Do you see this thing here? It's kind of got an up pointer to Maine. That's an indication that every one of those agents knows about Maine. Okay? And I'd like you to, therefore, in the action associated with this final state, you notice there's an action. What do you think that action means? What does it mean that there's an action there, do you think? Anyone?
Something happens.
Yeah, something happens when you enter that state. So we're going to be putting there an action. And I'd like you to put in there the following. Main dot remove, and just do autocomplete. Control space is your friend. You'll notice there's a thing called remove population, and it says object. That's who to remove from the population. How do I say in any logic, if I'm in a person, how do I say myself? We've seen it many times. This. That's how we say it. This, ladies and gentlemen. This. And we have to put a semicolon after it. Why a semicolon? Sorry? It's a command. We're saying do this. We're not asking for a value back from this. We're not saying, give me a count or something. Take an average and give it to me. We're instead just saying, perform this action. Remove me from the population. That's one way to do it. By the way, why does it say population? Why does it say population here?
In the main.
Yes, the name of the population in Maine is population. That's why it says it. If we had called it people or city population, it would be called remove underbar people or remove underbar city population. There's nothing particularly special about the word population. Whatever the name of our population is there, it'll be remove underbar the name of that. If we called it pop, it'll be remove pop. Okay?
And if you left this, I
So-
think you're gonna take everybody away.
Sorry?
If you left that empty, would that take everybody away?
If I left,
You left in the right.
if I left, no, it would be unhappy. Let me go and I'll actually do a build here and make sure it's a happy camper. It's happy right now. But if I were to leave this out, it would say, you haven't given me what I need to do my job. Because you need to tell me who to delete. And if I did this, it would exhibit displeasure. It would say, the method remove population in here, it needs some added information. It's not applicable for the arguments, meaning it needs other information to do its job. Argument in computer science doesn't mean a quarrel. It means something you give as information to a function. You can imagine that can lead to confusion at an interpersonal level. I'd like to bring you an argument. Might be transgressive in certain quarters. Okay, so main underbar remove population. Notice there's an underbar between these, a little underscore. Not a dash, an underscore. Autocomplete is your friend. Are we ready for this? Ready or not? Shall we run it? What will we expect to see? Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's a non-trivial thing. We can actually, again, harness visualization to see if a model is plausibly working. It's not a guarantee, but we should at least start to see individuals disappear. Oh my gosh, what happened? What happened? If you run the model long enough, what happens? Yeah, look at that. Who's dying preferentially? Those with heart disease, ladies and gentlemen. Those with heart disease. Okay. The older someone is, the more chance they've gotten the kicks of the can to develop heart disease. Okay? Yeah, don't listen to him. Trust me. Okay. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, so here we have people deleted from the population. May I show you another way to do it that is arguably easier? Can I show that to you? Okay. This one has an asterisk next to it, so I'm going to tell you when you shouldn't do this. Another way to do it, so this is one way. In Java, by the way, you can put // it will indicate it's a comment, meaning it won't pay any attention to what's there. You can put comments in the commentary descriptions. Another way to do it is to say underbar delete self. And that will delete yourself from whatever populations you're in. The problem is this doesn't work well with hybrid models involving discrete event simulation. So I often don't use it because just in case we add something into the model that exhibits care-seeking behavior or presentation at a clinic, this could cause problems. But some people prefer it, and I think it has some virtues to recommend it. And in my mind, it's perfectly reasonable to use one way or the other. Okay. Okay. Great. So, ladies and gentlemen, either of these work fine in this context. I'll remove the I'll use the removed population if that's okay. Here we go. So is Kurt in the room? Okay, okay. Thank you. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, we've just imposed death within this model. I'd like to add, to keep our focus on open populations, we'll come to age in the fullness of time. But next, I'd like to add in a representation of immigration. May I do that? Immigration? Let's see how that's done. Hopefully you'll see the parallels by following this so quickly. Now, with immigration, I'm going to introduce a construct you haven't previously seen. I do so with an eye towards building your toolbox of pieces. Thus far, in any logic, with agent-based modeling, we've seen state charts and their transitions. We've seen statistics, graphs. We've seen populations, parameters. We've seen variables. But I'm going to introduce you to a new friend, if I may. This friend is called an event. And an event is associated with a sequence of occurrences or happenings or a one-time thing. And we're going to put an event here into main. Okay? We're going to go put an event into main. And this event will be called the immigration event. When it fires, someone will come into the population. Are we okay with that? Okay. So let's go to the palette and let's drag into main something called immigration event. Okay? You could just call it immigration. I'm torn. I'll just leave it as immigration event. And we're going to have associated with this an immigration rate. How would I? So let's see how I can specify a certain rate of immigration, a certain average number of people per time unit, in this case year, that come in. We're going to have a trigger type of rate here. And with the trigger type of rate, this event is going to go off a certain number of times per year on average. By default, it's 1 per year. But let's suppose that for different scenarios, ladies and gentlemen, we wanted to make use of different immigration rates. How could we specify it so a scenario could choose what immigration rate to apply? What mechanism allows us from an experiment to specify some assumption to use in main? A parameter. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, a parameter. It lies before us, the very top item in the agent palette. So we're going to call this the immigration rate. That's people per year that immigrate. What's its type going to be? Double, int? Is it going to be a true or false quantity? It's going to be a double. It could be, on average, 3.5 times a year. Some years it's 4, some years it's 3, what have you. So it's going to be a double, and I'm going to have a default value of it of 10.0. Immigration rate. By virtue of making this a parameter, who can specify the value of the parameter to use? You can, indeed. Oh, and where would you specify that? Experiment, cool. Okay. Okay, good. Making sure we're cooking with gas here. Okay, so let's go to the immigration event, and we will set the rate here. Guess what the rate will be for this event? Speak on.
Of
No. This dot immigration. Good. Excellent. A fine choice. Okay. Good. Ladies and gentlemen, but an event exists to do something. It fires a certain number of times per year, according to this rate. But each time it fires, it has to do something. And what's it going to do? Each time it fires, what's going to happen to the population? It'll increase by one person. We'll add a person to the population. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is again a key nexus, or a key thing I want you to pay attention to. How do I add them to the population? May I show you? Okay. Guess you haven't come this far to say no. Okay. This dot, why this? Why don't I say Maine? Because we're in Maine. This is immigration rates occurring in Maine. We don't have to say Maine. I mean, this is Maine. Literally. This is Maine. If I said, okay. Enough puns. Okay. This dot add underbar population. Does that remind us of something? Just like remove population, there's add underbar population. In both cases, we tell Maine, add someone to the population, remove someone. What if our population was called pop? What would we call to add someone to pop? Add underbar pop. That's right. Good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we're adding to the population. Now there's something going on here that I'm going to come back to. I'm choosing the ordering of these things in a way that makes this a little bit simpler for the moment. We're going to have to come back to this when we make a change in just within 5 minutes. So I'd like to run this model. Okay? Or within 10 minutes. I'd like to run this model. Here we go. And here we go. And now we have people leaving, but what do we also have happening? People are joining the population, ladies and gentlemen. People are coming in. Can you see them? They appear. Do you see them? They're coming in. Arriving new Canadians. Okay? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we just had an open population in the form of immigration. Turns out from birth, we would use the same basic mechanism. But instead of associating it with an immigration event that goes off in Maine, we typically associate with either an event that goes off in person, an event that goes off in person with a certain fertility rate for women, or we would have a state chart that has a pregnant, non-pregnant state, and when one goes from pregnant to non-pregnancy, there'd be a birth of a baby. And you'd use that same basic mechanism of adding someone to the population. You see that? But it'll be occurring at the level of a person. Okay, now, I'm just trying to fill this out to connect the dots, bring us back to a sense of comfort with respect to certain things. I'd like to have age captured in the model. So people have a certain age in the model, and that age increases over time. Are we ready for that? Okay. Does anyone object? Hearing no objections, I will proceed with alacrity. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to go to add into person the ability for them, to age. But first, I will save away this model in case there's anyone who's struggling with it, they can go and simply download my model. So I'm going to save this as a new version of the model. When you're working with models, once you have a good working version and you're going to add something big to it, save away a new version of the model. So you can go back to that old one. You could test, when did that bug come in? Was that affecting those runs I did several times ago? Or is this a new bug? And by having these old versions of the model around, you can easily check at what point did the mistake creep in, for example. Also, you can save away the version you used to submit a paper. And so if you get reviewer responses that request additional scenarios, you can go back exactly to the model version that was used for that paper, for that submission, for that manuscript. Okay, so here, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to save this as version 4 of the model, and I'm going to go and upload this. Oops. Somehow my browsers are all messed up. I'm going to go here and upload this latest version of the. Oh, okay. No wonder I'm not connected to the internet. Here we go. Now we should be cooking with gas. Sorry. Mumble. Okay, there we go. No wonder we're not connected because there's no cord. Okay, happy. Okay, here we go. I'm going to add this in, and I'll do a. Here we go. Lecture slides, models. Here we go, and there's version 3, and I will load it in. Boom. If anyone wants to get it, it's version 3 on the class models developed in class folder, models built in class. Okay. Yeah.
So
Gabriel.
when you save the new versions, and there is a field saying Java package.
Yes.
So does that stay the same, but you only
Yes.
change the model name?
Yeah, that's what's going on. I'm doing that for ease, but this causes a little bit of grief sometimes because when you open a new version of the model, it says, oh, I've already got something with that same package. I've got to close it. Are you sure you want to do this? And generally, you just say, yes, I want the new version. It'll close the old one, open the new one. Only one of those can be open at a time. If you want to open both, you would rename the package to something different, and it will allow you to have both open at the same time. But right now, I'm not changing the package name, and that's why it's causing these complaints. I could. There's no deep reason why I'm not. It's just as an expedient. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, but I promised you age. And age, ladies and gentlemen, I will deliver. Unfortunately. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, I've provided the model there, and now we will go and add age into this population, or add aging into this population. Not merely static age, but aging. Okay, so how are we going to do this? This is a repeated pattern, ladies and gentlemen. This is a pattern that is used many times over, and it's a tried and true pattern, okay? This pattern is called the current age pattern, is kind of my name for it. And I will guide it for you here, okay? So what I'd like you to do is to add in, the reflection here is, when we work with epidemiological data, sometimes we work with data that directly says their age at the time of a survey. But a lot of the time, particularly if we're working with longitudinal data, what do we keep track of? Particularly if we have follow-up data over time. How do we keep track of their age? We use their date of birth, their birthday. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to give each person a birthday. Okay? Not because we're going to launch a set of birthday celebrations for them, but instead because we are going to use it to determine their current age. Is that okay? Okay. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go specify a birth date. Now, how would we specify an assumption to a person for their birth date? What would we do? What sort of thing would we use to encode the birth date? Would it be a variable? A parameter. Why a parameter? Give me two reasons. It's fixed value. It never changes. And secondly, we can specify it at the time they're created. You know, this is their birth date from their point of creation. A lot of the time, it will just be the current time that they're born right now. But for an immigrant, it might be some time ago, and they're coming in now. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to add to person a parameter, and that parameter will be called birth date or birth time. Birth time. So that's going to give me a time. Any logic keep track of dates. It knows about weekends. It knows about days of the week. It knows about different number of days in different months. It knows about calendars. It knows about time of day. And perhaps even time zones. But we're going to not grapple with that complexity at the moment. We'll just use any logic as this kind of abstract time, as say time measured in years, and the birth time will be some number of years after the start of the model, or if it's negative, before the start of the model. The person starts at the beginning of the model, and it's time 0, and they were born at time -10. How old are they now? 10 years old. If they were born at time -50 years, how old are they now at the start of the model at time 0? Yeah, 50 years old now. Okay, so we're going to have a birth time here associated with them. Okay? Okay. So each person is going to be associated with a birth time, and then, yes, question.
Are we just going to ask how much more problematic it would be to do this with real calendar time? So you would actually have the assigned actual dates to the birth date? Now, I don't know what to draw from a random distribution or whatever, how, I guess that's where I was going to get my not when I tried to do it.
I'd say if you were to have Winchell work on it,
Okay, so it's not just click, it's.
no, but it would probably take, I would venture with Winchillian capabilities, it would probably take about 1 to 2 hours to get it all figured out, including the calculations for their current age, when they were born, dealing with leap years or what have you. All that logic is not that hard, and he might be able to do it in less than an hour. But I would say within 2 hours, I'd have a high degree of confidence that Winchell or a number of other TAs in the room could help with that.
So, yeah, so the short answer is it just easier to do it relative to model time.
That's right. And you'll see one of the reasons why in just a minute. But Winchell's mind is already probably going at it, and he may have solved it by the time that I finish going through this example. He may well have solved it with date diff and so on. Actually, I'm thinking about it, it's not that hard. One of the questions in my mind is how do you generate a random calendar date? That's the one that I'm most troubled by. But I think Winchell is resourceful enough, it's possible that he'll solve that even as I speak now. Jeff?
Well, if you use the schedule object, yeah, like, I mean, if they're real, not real data.
Okay, so yeah, I guess I've used the schedule object for some things, but I guess I'm not familiar with using it in that context, but possibly it could be used like that. Yeah. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a birth time, Now we're going to add in, the first time we've done it, a function. A function is going to be called current age, okay? Current age. Is that okay? Their current age. This is a function. It's going to perform a calculation for us. And therefore, its job in life for this function is it's going to return a value. And its name is current age. Guess what value it's going to return? What do you think it'll return? A number that represents their age. Good. Good. Good call. Okay. And now the question is, what number do we return? Let's think about this. Let's suppose I told you the time is measured in years. Birth time is measured in years. Suppose it's now time 20, and this person was born at time 10. How old are they now? 10 years old. How did I get that 10?
Now versus now.
Yeah, now minus the birth time. Suppose it's now year 1, and this person was born at year minus 5. How old would they be now? 6 years old. 1 minus 5. 1 minus the birth time. So it's a very general rule that's very effective. So what we're going to do is we're going to return here time, which there's a thing called time. Oops. Oh my gosh. I am confused in the most uncomfortable way. I'm pretty sure it's time. Minus birth time. Winchell, can you correct my memory here? Is it indeed time? Yes, it's time. It's time. My memory is correct. My trepidations were unfounded. Okay, so it's the current time 20 minus the birth time, year 10. 20 minus 10, they were 10 years old. If it's time 50 now, when they were born at time 30, it's 50 minus 30, they're 20 years old now. Does that make sense? That's their current age. Will this be changing over time? You bet it will, because time is the current time, and that's going to be advancing. Do people see that? Okay, I'd like to show this to you graphically. I'd like to show it to you in a visceral way that we have aging captured. And the way I'd like to show it, ladies and gentlemen, is none other than by clicking on this little man. Well, this little figure. Okay? And I'd like to set their Y scale. If there's a thing called scale Y, I'd like to set their Y scale to be given by their current age. Are we okay with that? Okay. Now, I'm having a civil war internally as to whether we do it in a slightly more sophisticated way or the most simple way and admire the dysfunction. I think I'll do it's 1.0 plus 0.1 times the log of the current age plus 1.0. Sorry, I just want to make it so it doesn't give us bizarrely stretched individuals. So what am I doing? I'm taking their current age, I'm adding 1 to it. This is the same thing to avoid that pathology where the log of 0 is minus infinity and so on. So the minimum this is going to give at time 0 or at age 0, we're going to get a 1. Its log is going to be 0. They're going to be a size 1.0. But maybe we'll start them smaller. Maybe we'll make their initial scale not 1.0 but 0.5 so that they start small. Is that okay? And then they grow. And they grow by the log of their age. What do you think of that? So the biggest growths will occur in childhood and adolescence, much like occur perhaps in mule deer. Yeah. Okay. Are we ready for this? Can we run it? Who would like to see me dwell on this further? Okay. Hearing no objections, I'm going to run it. Do you want me to show it longer?
No, did you build it?
Yeah, I built it, and it's a happy camper. And what happens? What will we expect to see? What's going on over time? What's going on? People start in a most compressed fashion. Do you see that? At the initial run, do you see they're smaller and then they grow over time? Did you see that? Or no? Okay. Yeah, here, watch this. I'll do a slow-mo. Ladies and gentlemen, watch this. These controls up here control how fast the model runs. If you want to see this, I changed this to 0.5 if you want to try that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to put this in slow-mo by pressing this, and you notice the essence of compress. Do you see that? And now watch as they grow. Do you see them growing? Ever so slowly? Do you see them growing? Yes. Okay. Okay, and now they die, and so there's a limit to their growth, but that's the basic deal. Are we ready for this? Okay. Okay, so they're growing. Okay, now we have age. We have a way of assessing the current age, and it's affecting their height. Now suppose we wanted their mortality to be given by age. Okay. Okay. We're almost done with this. Almost done with this. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to teach you a way to have mortality given by age, and you could apply it to initiation rate or other factors. So, would you like me to save this model and post it to the site so you can grab it? There seems to be little interest. Going, gone. Okay, so we'll continue on. Okay, we're going to add one final thing in to complete this example. We're going to add in something that will allow us to compute an age-specific mortality rate. Are we ready for this? Okay. Okay. Here we go. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, and I've done this so many times before, I thought I would have a nice list of values to use for this age-specific mortality, but I don't have that handy, so I'm just going to do it de novo. Okay, so this is mortality. I just added in from the agent palette something called a table function, and this will be called mortality rate by age. Okay? And this is going to be table data. Table data. Okay? So we're going to specify for different ages what mortality hazard rates apply. Okay. Are we ready for this? Okay. Okay. So forgive me, I'm going to go through this quickly. For age 0, we're going to have a mortality rate of 0.002. For age, by age 2, past the first few years of life, that mortality rate on a per year, that hazard on a per year basis will drop to a quarter of that value, so 0.0005. And that will largely persist into the higher risk, to the beginning of the higher risk teenage years. So by 12, it's also, it'll be just a little bit higher. It'll be 0.001. and by 18 years old, it'll be 0.005 due to youthful indiscretion. By 30 years old, it will decline again to 0.0005, where it will remain until when by 50, it's going to be 0.001. 0.0005. By 60, it will be 0.01. By 70, it'll be 0.04. And by 80, it will be 0.1. And by 90, we'll just leave it at that high rate of 0.1. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you'll notice with the table function you can get a preview of it, and you can see the shape that has been induced by this curve. We see a bump for childhood. Would anyone like me to read these out again? Should I read them out one by one? Okay, 0 at 0.002. By 2 years old, it's 5e to the minus 4. So 5e minus 4. 12 at 0.01. Sorry, 0.001. 18 at 0.005. 30, it's again 5e minus 4. 50 at 0.005. 60 at 0.01. 70 at 0.04. 80 at 0.1. And that induces a graph that looks like this. It rises sharply in the older years. There's a teenage bump in mortality and risk, a hazard there, and the very earliest years, because of congenital factors and high-risk births, etc., there's a higher rate there that then declines after in the first 2 years. Are we okay with that? Okay. Okay, so this mortality rate, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to just specify a few more details about it. You'll notice we could say what sort of interpolation we want to do. Do we want each value to simply persist until the next one, or do we want it to linearly interpolate? Do we want to use a spline to connect them more smoothly? You want to be careful about that one because sometimes it might even go negative. I'm going to choose linear, but the other thing we need to specify is how to handle out of range values. So let's suppose someone's greater than 90 years old. Do we want it to simply use the closest one? Do we want it to extrapolate? I will say here use the nearest, okay? So above 90, the rate associated, the hazard rate, excuse me, I thought I had a 90, oh, I guess it was just 80. The rate associated with 80 will persist, okay? So this is a table function. It allows us to look up for a given age what mortality hazard applies. Does that make sense to you? Okay, good. Okay. So now all we have to do is link it in and perform a little bit of finesse in this model we fully baked. Okay. The first link in we have to do is for the non-heart disease mortality, we're going to use this baseline mortality rate by age. We really should have called this baseline mortality, and I'm going to go back and change the name to baseline or reference mortality by age. It's a mortality for the reference group. It's for the group without the added heart disease risk. And I just want to call it that. It's reference mortality because we're going to use it as such functionally. So for this hazard rate here, the rate is going to be given by the reference mortality rate by age And what are we going to look up as their current age? Can anyone tell me? We're going to look up their current age. How do we know what their current age is?
Current age.
Yeah, current age function. We just call it. We say, give me my age. So we say current age, like that. Let me put it up on the big screen for all to see. There we go. Okay. So we are. What is this reference mortality rate by age? Where did that come? Who specified that? You did. Not 5 minutes thens. Right? That's the table function we just created. It takes a given age as an argument. It takes an age as the information it needs. And what does it look up? The mortality rate, the mortality hazard rate, the chance per year, probably per year someone will die. Probably density that obtains for that age. So we're looking up their current age and we're finding their hazard rate and we're going to use it associated with the hazard rate for this transition. Does that make sense, what we're doing here? So that we're going to have a certain hazard here. Now there's a finesse here that I'm going to perform in a minute that is needed. But does this make sense? So we have this reference mortality by age that specifies for different ages what's the mortality hazard that obtains. You see it here depicted before you in its fearsome exponential aspect. And we're going to look up their current age and figure out what rate obtains for that person and use that as their to govern their mortality. Does that make sense? That will be their mortality rate from their state. Now, that's for people without heart disease. For those with heart disease, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a certain factor times that. There's going to be a hazard rate ratio for heart disease that's going to multiply times that, okay, for this rate from heart disease. And what the idea here is that we're going to use this basic formulation, this one here, and we're going to multiply it by a number, okay? So for example, it might be something like 10 times this, 10.0 times that. But generally speaking, we want to be cautious about putting numbers here. So what might we do to encode that as a reference point? We can have a parameter. Now let me ask this, and this is an important point of reflection, and it's a very practical one that comes up again and again in our modeling with this tool. Where should that parameter live? There's a case to be made on the face of it that it's a parameter about people, so it should live in a person. But does this need to differ for each person? No. It's a characteristic of personhood. So there's one of two places we put this in any logic. If we see ourselves varying it a lot, we will, from scenario to scenario, our assumptions about it, we will actually put it in main so that we can vary it from experiment to experiment. So I'm going to drag into experiment a parameter called heart disease, mortality, hazard rate ratio, okay? I know it's a mouthful. But autocomplete, ladies and gentlemen, is your friend. Where did I put that parameter? I put it in main because it doesn't have to vary person to person. By putting it in main, I can vary it from experiment to experiment, which has some flexibility that recommends it. Do you see that? Yeah. Okay. That goes in Maine. And in person, we're going to refer to that. How do we refer to something that lives in Maine? We saw it within the past 45 minutes. How do we refer to something in Maine? Maine dot, and we want that heart disease mortality hazard rate ratio. So let's suppose it's 10. Then the hazard rate for us dying is 10 times as high as it is for the reference group without heart disease. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Now let's give that parameter in Maine a default value. Let's give it a default. Okay? And here we are. We're going to give this a default. To give this a default, here for the mortality rate ratio, we'll give it a default of 10.0. I don't know what it is in practice. We could look it up empirically. I'm sure there's a strong literature on it. Good. Good. So that's a hazard rate ratio associated with mortality. But there's one fly in the ointment, ladies and gentlemen. There's one awkward fact that gets in the way of such beauty. Here we have a transition. It's given by a hazard rate. We say look up that hazard rate based on my changing age, get it from this function, find the appropriate hazard rate that applies for my age, and use it to govern my chance of dying. Do you understand that basic logic? There is one fly in the ointment, one ugly fact that ruins a beautiful setup like this, and it causes a blemish that suffers that suffers our model aesthetically. Okay? We need to recalculate this periodically. It doesn't do it automatically for us. It'll do it when we change states of either state chart, but we need to tell it to recalculate periodically. How will we do that? We will do that in a most uncomfortable fashion, in a fashion that is aesthetically displeasurable. We need to add in to our state chart 2 transitions. And these state chart transitions may shock you. Okay? We're going to drag this in, and I'd like you to connect this up to that state whence it comes.
Whence it's been.
Thanks a ton. Okay. So I'd like you to connect that up, and now we will literally bend this to our will. Okay? And I'd like Christine to stick around for a few minutes during the break. So I'm going to double click on this transition to lend it a bend. Here, okay? We're going to give it the bends. And we're going to double click again here to have it bent twice. And then we're going to have it connect back hither to this state. Displeasurable indeed. Distressing perhaps. But functional always. Similarly, from this state, it need not be positioned exactly that way. The key is that it leave the state, it exhibit 2 bends in it so it does not collapse upon itself, and it connect back to the same state whence it comes. Okay? Okay, here we go. So there's 2 adequate bends. Okay, 2 adequate ones. This will be a timeout. It goes off every year. What's the job of that timeout? What happens when that timeout fires is that it actually recomputes this hazard rate going out. It re-figures out. When it comes back in the state, it says, oh, what's my chance of dying per year? And it will look it up, the hazard here, and this one will guarantee that every year we'll re-examine that hazard. If you wanted to re-examine that hazard every month, you would set this loopy thing to go off every month. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel so irresponsible showing you that, but there's not a much better way to do it. Several of them are recommended as equal evils, and this is the poison that I have chosen as the least bad. Okay? I'm glad there's no riot yet. But neither is there rejoicing in the stands. Okay, yes? So okay, great question. So what will happen if you don't do that has subtleties associated with it. The basic gist of it is, Patricia, that it won't be recalculating this hazard rate on a guaranteed rate. Whenever you change states over here, or when you change state here, it'll recalculate, like this hazard you come into, or when it's changing these states, it'll be recalculating it. But it won't do so necessarily every year. And what that may mean is that you could be 5 years old and you're still using the hazard rate that obtained when you were 2. Or you could be 2 and it's still using the hazard rate that obtained when you were 0.5 years old, or what have you. And as a result, you may be having an outdated risk of death associated with that because you're using the rate that applied a few years ago. And if that rate is changing rapidly, as it is in youngest ages and the oldest ages, and even to some degree in teenage years, there's a risk that you'll be applying an unrealistic hazard rate. This guarantees that in this case, it's every 1 year. It could be every 1 month if you wished it to be every 1 day if you so sought. That it'll be refreshing this hazard rate, so it'll be using the kind of, based on your current age, it'll be using the right mortality hazard given that age. Here we go. The right mortality, so it'll look it up for your current age. Otherwise, it may be using an old one. Does that help? Like one that was, the last time you quit smoking or something like that, which may be not that long ago, but this just guarantees at least once a year we will recalculate it. If it recalculates it more than once a year, it's just going to be even yet more accurate, but it gives us a baseline. Are we okay for this? Okay, let's run this model. Let's build this model first. The TAs need to stand ready, a vanguard to double check the integrity of the models. My model has distressing messages, and perhaps those afflict others in the audience as well. Let us steel ourselves and once more into the breach, TAs. So transition 1 cannot be reached. A distressing finding. It plops us into the code here. So let's go take a look at what's going on. This is a most interesting thing, and I asked for the Winchillian eye to help. Okay, so it looks like there's some no. That looks fine. I don't see a particular. Okay, this looks quite interesting. It looks like it is distressed by this little transition. Fascinating. Okay, I've never seen this before. Winchell, any? Do you want to hazard a guess, so to speak?
Because you have a timeout instead of a rate.
Oh yeah, but I should be able to. I should be able to have a timeout. So exactly every year it does this. I don't see. So you're saying if this is a rate, it will disappear? I don't see that as disappearing if this is a rate. I think it's still like that. Okay, let's do a sanity check. Let's ignore this thing and make sure that it's a happy camper now. Okay. Yes, it's a happy camper now. There is something about this that sticks in its craw. And I will now try to decrawify it. So, pardon me, I will engage in debugging behavior. This is great. Okay. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I will remove this and I will reapply this just to see if perhaps hitching it up again will cause a resolution. No? Okay. It's still exhibiting the same dysfunction. Fascinating. Yes.
This,
Yes.
it's acting like the name is wrong.
Yes, it is.
I
Yes.
think this might be a simple restarting logic situation.
I'm wondering the same. Let me close the model and reopen it. I don't know that I'll close any logic, but it looks to me suspect. Winchell, do you want to proffer?
I think it's also probably just the code generating is something wrong.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, now let's build it. Okay, so it's now a happy camper. Okay, it is a happy camper here. And yeah, so that was what we call in computer science a bug. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the fault lies not with us, but with our stars. The fault lies with the product any logic. So let us run this model and let us leave that as a lesson that sometimes any logic too suffers dysfunction in the slings of fate. Sometimes penetrate even us as a result. Okay, the model runs fine. We've overcome the hurdles of an any logic bug. We have introduced aging into our population. We have captured that visually. We have introduced age-specific mortality rates and encoded those in a table function that allows incorporation of empiric data. And we have seen that in order to capture this appropriately, we can simply have this recalculation of the mortality hazard every year, and we will do so, and we will make use of the updated mortality rate per this table. We could use a similar strategy, though we do not have time to do so, for initiation, to have age-specific initiation rates, age-specific cessation rates, age-specific heart disease rates associated with smoking or relapse. And we have introduced a hazard rate ratio that captures the fact that from heart disease you have a higher risk of dying per year than from no heart disease. Ladies and gentlemen, the time for the break has arrived.
Yes.
So I will post this model. You may wish to use it. And we will reconvene afterwards for project work, at which time I will rest. Thank you.
There are coffee and tea and donuts and muffins and wagon wheels and Oreo cookies, and go eat, guys. Have a blast.
Wouldn't you like to be here all day?
Nope.
I do a lot of signals.
You'd have to have a cane, wouldn't you?
To pull them off the stage? Yes. We could do that, actually, you know. We were actually discussing getting one for you, so you could put your Dumbledore up.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the model
I do need a saucer.
is
Yes.
the model is now posted for those who wish to partake of it.
I promised myself I'd do that when I got to Gander.
Oh, good, yes.
But unfortunately, some appear to have reached a
It's
steady
hot.
state.
It's fresh.
A steady state of deed growth.
Mm-hmm. That's a good
I'll
thing.
need some special potion.
But I'm sure we can work on that.
May we, the three of us, talk briefly? Okay, thank you. I'm going to partake of.
We
So-
do have some food, yeah.
Oh, where's my? Oh, there's my bag. I'm just gonna partake of a thing for my ailing throat.
Do you want some balls?
No, I got these.
You've got those. Oh, those ones. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always if you can get into them. Yeah.
I consumed my last one for a group that sustained me even in I believe it's Sydney and Melbourne. And now
I'm not going there. No.
Okay.
You would be surprised what he tries to feed me in his office. You gotta try this. No, don't tell me what it is, please.
Okay. Okay.
Come this way.
So can we talk briefly? Okay, TAs, following the break, you should convene with your groups. I will be back.
These are the groups we organized on Monday.
These are the groups as noted in the spreadsheet? Yeah.
No. I think I'm just. I think I put navigator knows other groups. I always got a serious gaming machine over there. Is that yours?
Yeah, for the
Like games?
migratory population, for your established population.
But you can't.
Yeah, no,
That's like anytime that they call it WASD or different. Which one is a gaming? This is real time on current age, right? The didn't have any view that on
that you invert them in users.
like they swap you outside of it.
So it seems to like it already, I put on it, but that doesn't mean that it's correct. So what?
I didn't have that. Once I was traveling with the laptop, it had no battery. It's like,
So I mean,
she's good at the battery I had taken out. And
so that.
I put the battery in my backpack in case the luggage was shipped. Because you're not supposed to put batteries in your, you have to put them in your carry. You just put them in your bag. They put them in the dishwasher or something. So I had the laptop in the other bag in case they wanted to manual gate check it. I took the battery out and maybe put the battery back in and turn it on. Then I had to put the whole thing in my backpack. Yeah, I'm trying to make it very cool and show you. First world problem. I still flew like a bird casually in the sky. How's it going so far? Really? I feel like every time you come here, you're like, oh yeah, I've built this model now 6 times. I should,
Well, yeah, that stuff is, the problem is there's a lot of these little bits and pieces that I don't use, so it's good to refresh them.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's, it's just not.
very detail oriented.
Well, some of the details you're just not using every day, you forget about, oh shoot, I should do that. I do the one quick, very quick question for you.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not on this one, he's not a big deal. This is probably outside animals come into the feedlot, they've got a, when they come into a feedlot, they have an on-arrival resistance. So we've got, it's in a collection somewhere. So on-arrival resistance. This is a truly, truly frightening. Yeah. Okay, so I click on the collection right here. So this is an array, ugly, ugly, ugly array, which is in the order of the collection. So there's 12 drugs, there's 12 on-arrival susceptibilities.
We're talking about this risk with commercial drivers. Oh, yeah, they ran into something with.
I know, when we look up to there's got to be, there just has to be. Wouldn't we have like the name
Yep.
and the number?
See this in their research and
Because this is
their
the
mobile populations.
collections and collections.
So yeah, so they support that. So yeah, I think that's what we do.
Yes. So where do I do that? Whenever I want that number. Okay, so it's, but I can't see it, like, it's not like a.
So what you have to do is you have to check that distribution and then check that they do much faster. Yeah, I agree. Go back to that.
I'm running these hashtags before and I've never been able to find out.
You know that's trying to find a solution.
Yeah.
Whenever you don't know how that solution
Yeah, yeah, and it's, yeah.
So the link has been put, but then the next question is how do you parameterize that? So where are these numbers coming from?
So right now, they're literally just a regular, they're actually hand typed. Okay, so.
Really what they put in the file.
Yeah, no, well,
Then it's not you. I don't want to make you So let's see, there's a few options. One is comment is a percent that have and then populate the ID. The simplest one. So what the next one is what you have in Excel file. You have it in Excel and you can just populate those. Basically, if you have an Excel file, you go Excel.Excel, and then you give it sheet, row, column, and it just gives you that value.
Okay, so.
You know which row is which column.
So not much different than how we construct the output files or whatever, like, sometimes you're like, say,
You would just do so this, if you have the numbers in your file, let's say you could do it. And since the numbers are hand typed, you could just purposefully put it in Excel file.
yeah.
That's one thing.
Because it needs to be more transparent.
Really? I want you to think it. There's another way, which is, I haven't done this way as much, but you totally can do this. You use this database. And so when I do this database object, you create a database and it's created in this table. And then what you can do is you can have one of these tables for each of the four functions.
That would be cool, because then it would be right in the.
That's right, so it's all right in there. And then it's all about the specific. Yeah, it's not the one. It's very 90%.
I like this option because it's just there. So that
So
gives
what
us
you
one-
do is you can just, this is how you control the column.
Okay, you need one column with the they probably just need to know what, they need to know what drugs they use, but I guess you guys still have to follow the drugs and then.
That's right, so this column could be a string, and this column is, you know, the name of the column, so it's his name, and then this is. Then you just have to populate the numbers manually, you
Yeah.
can type in the numbers.
Yeah, whatever.
First case of next location. You just do it like that, but then, in order to get to that, in order to use those numbers.
Then you have to update those ones and it is.
So let's go, I don't know, okay.
It's up to how many cell type you want to be.
Because it's,
So once you have online viruses, you really need to put viruses.
Could it be, because it's actually, could it be a drug?
Yes.
No.
You will be safe. You will be safe. Because you have no immunity, so once you
There you go.
get the infection, so it will be just
Okay,
that.
excellent.
And then,
And then it's all, using the first thing, so it's not, and then the second list, it's all going back to the same list all the time, so we have to.
also the supplies.
I mean, you have to do manually.
Yeah.
Okay, but now, actually, the one complexity is when you actually a little bit more complicated.
Also the pilot too. But there's no any evidence of
I'll just put in a little piece of code that's commented up, and show you how you go around it. So I just put some numbers in
So
there.
most of the I think bio
We should do this in a
Uh,
Ebola resistant?
Let's just, this is, yeah, E. coli, resistance, AR,
yeah, well, that's
So it can't be capitalized. Because it's like a MySQL kind of thing.
Also, there is a can you have an
Then in May,
my study is very micro.
there's an error.
Individual household.
Then in May, what you do, wherever you want to do it, I'm just going to put this in May because. And then what you would do is you click here.
This depends on so in Singapore.
This, you can say what table am I going to grab? And then what column am I going to grab? I want to grab the equal column. And what's the condition that we're going to try to make?
Every reason is the country level, so doesn't matter the value.
What if I want to list the values, like if I still want my array, like, the collection was an array, right?
Yeah, so in this case, you're grabbing from column, you only have one value for the seed.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah, because I got
So I want one value, so I might
collaborate
call it separately.
the Brown Medical University.
Yeah, so we'll just do the single value, and then this is the function that's actually getting called.
Some people in Thailand.
Yeah.
Yeah, people in Nepal.
So I just need to do that change.
Yep, or you can see how it's created. Seed is the name of the thing you want to go to.
Yeah.
So what you can do is loop through your option list.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah. So the way you do that is you just do for drugs. Is it called drugs?
yeah, it is gross.
Drugs, yeah. You go for drugs D, then
Because some of the Thailand person.
Yeah, okay, I see
Usually
that.
kind of like you guys.
So now,
Actually, mostly, and then
now what here you do is you
in that painting or something.
yeah.
Okay, I see that.
Then you wait for
Yeah,
it.
lights are flashing, yeah.
You can
Let me write my
And then
lights are flashing.
So then, in a sense, then you wouldn't need the collections
And
anymore.
then after
Or,
some
Yeah.
days, they
so
actually
you don't break your code.
Yeah.
You keep the collections.
and then they figure
Just put this, the front is populated.
That would probably be easy to do it. So how would you get business on the
So if we keep the collections as they are, which is great,
Yeah,
it's gonna be a little bit. The difficulty here is you gotta make sure the order of this is gonna be the right
yeah,
order.
and as long as it's moving through the drugs, then it's the right order.
here you just have to,
Thank you for your information.
because I think you got this is the one that I messed up. This is the.
So did we tell it to take the second, did we tell it to pull?
Actually, just subdivision is a concept,
Yeah, we did. Let's verify. Hold it, hold it, I'm just wondering why it's referenced because it's an array list of drugs, but it should be an array list of double. I think when we changed it and then changed it back, we did.
Oh, okay, this was my subdivision.
At the beginning, I don't have the actual.
It didn't look normal. This, I think this drug is not a number, it should be a double.
I mentioned it,
I'll try to look like this one, it's probably
I
like
figured out my original outcomes, but not from my model.
so that would mean it's eventually. Then, you add, in this case, now it's been changed, so you can add here. So we're gonna put the number, the number you were adding is that guy. So now you're gonna add some people. Now, the reason why you know it's involved is you can see the name of the column, and then right there. E. coli resistance.
That's nice because it's not, I mean, the collections are still.
You make sure I didn't put your name in there.
Oh, there's. All right, excellent, okay, so that's all done.
Hopefully from this little block of code, you can see that,
Yeah, she'll be able to figure it out. So it looks like you've been, I saw the Dropbox that we got, so it looks like you've been, I didn't get a chance to download anything, but you just put some stuff in the Dropbox. Okay, perfect. All right, so
Mortality is not.
All right, so, so, the one that I'm shooting for here.
Some parameter that's not.
So that's the network that we've got, so, I'm not sure which is right now.
Every year I do.
I'm not sure what she's actually, I think within Penn right now, and I don't know, I use this all practice, what's actually going on here. And she's got the channels within Penn, Rochester, and Transcend.
Nothing is happening in the integration.
So it's kind of that seems to be happening, and that's,
Some people are not, but that's only because they don't what's happening. Basically this.
So, there's a particular message examination that is supposed to be transmitting on the network of thousands of networks. So that's what's right now, what she needs help with is the between. So for this guy here, so that kind of and she had
So I usually start this
Oh, perfect. I don't know, when does the this time starts, like now? Okay. Yeah, whenever you're ready, just let me know. If that's the time now, then we'll do it. Whatever. Thank you very much. No, what's your name? Oh no. I have no idea what this is. No, for me it's chronic wasting. Yeah, with mule deer. Yeah, there is a girl for reindeer. You want? Next to me is Maria.
Which one is it? Is it in this folder? Participant resources?
Thank you very much.
I don't know. I was just share me the sheet. How about boot camp? Just based on what's kind of realistic. Probably project team. Yeah, I think it's in that project team. This one. There's a lot going here. There's a lot going here.
Mm-hmm.
But also, yeah, and I think some of the other
How do we zoom out? Hmm.
so that's for respiratory pathogens kind of running
I don't know how to zoom on his thing.
Yes, exactly. So,
Uh,
so we've got the speed of transmission network.
so does everyone here know what groups they're working in or scheduled to be in? So we got some groups on the board here. So I guess we're moving into group work. Some people are already there, but does everyone know who their TA is for their group? Yeah? Does anyone know, is anyone here working on this hybrid ABM contaminant transport model? No? No, okay, no worries. You got to ask Nate.
Okay. So,
I guess you have to ask Nate, yeah. So you could just wander around and you could see if people are in groups and they're working.
Okay, sure.
And try to find somebody that's in a group
Okay.
or that maybe needs some help.
Okay, sure.
And just help whoever.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, now.
Oh yeah, it's I didn't do that.
So Clara, Super B.
Yeah. So is it starting now?
Yep. I mean, it was a break for 15 minutes. I think it's probably been 15 minutes.
So after that we'll become after
Nope. We do group work now.
Group?
Yeah.
So Tina goes with Clara?
Sorry?
So
Tina goes with Clara.
And who goes with
Who do you want to go with you?
anybody that is patient?
Are you here as a TA?
Of course no.
Oh.
I'm
Are you
here
on
as
this
an
list?
intern.
Are you on this list? What was your project?
It's something about chronic wasting disease and testing different scenarios.
This one? Crossing weighted disease, testing different management scenarios?
11.
11, the one that's selected.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. Young Chin, maybe. Young Chin, you could work over here if you like. She needs a partner. Yeah. So she's doing, her model is on chronic wasting disease and animals.
So, agent-based model?
Agent-based and moving around inside of a space. I don't know if you want GIS or
Oh,
not.
it's a different one now.
Oh, it's different.
Okay.
What? Okay, so
See if I can help.
you work out, and
Yeah.
if there's any questions, you can ask Winchell or I, and we can try to help you with whatever.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think that's
I'm not.
Oh no, I have no experience at all.
Hey, Nargis.
When I opened
Yeah.
the trick is I don't know the models. So what I've been doing that there should be
Yeah, and presumably you would be here to help with any of the models, groups that don't have a TA.
then
Well, as we always know, the list is never the reality. So I can look at the list, and I don't know if,
that's what I've been
you know, like this one is a project name without a person. So I don't know if there's people without projects. But what I would do is I would walk around and see if there's anyone who's not working with a TA and ask them. That's all I would do. But because they haven't seen you before, you might have to say I'm a TA with Nate or something.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I've been doing. They ask me things, and then I give it to them. But then I have no idea how they
I would go ask.
accommodate it to
Up to you.
if it's a person. So this is what they did. And my biggest understanding is that we don't have the deer here. Okay, now I will tell you. I think once upon a time, there was some model expensive. So it was some stuff. We have
Control your computer to display
then I think
the
we have preclinical.
page.
So before they
So
Yeah,
it's
good.
it's the one that's highlighted. I'm interested in hybrid ABM contaminant fate transport model.
Yeah, so that turned out to be
So what I said, because there's no one here that said to that, I suggested that Yang Chin work over here
well-
because she didn't have a TA,
Well,
so I don't
that-
know.
I think that was Patricia, and she swapped.
yeah. She swapped with which one?
No,
Discrete
she
event.
moved to asthma,
The asthma.
neighbourhood asthma,
That's right.
going from family to that neighbourhood.
And Nigel was here. I didn't know what.
No, we don't have.
Okay,
one
for Narges, I would suggest
So just to keep you up, the one on for Maria's, the one for chronic wasting disease.
Yeah.
She didn't have a TA, and since Yang Chin was looking for one, I just paired them together.
Narges or Young Chin?
Yang Chin.
Young Chin.
Well, I thought we were putting the two of the Clara together with.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, so that's the plan. So why don't they go join up with Clara? Where is Clara right now? Okay, so I would suggest, could Narges, how about this animal farming system? Either that or childhood obesity.
I think right now.
That would be really helpful.
Childhood obesity probably, but do we know who it is?
Yeah, who is it?
Um,
I think there is data that they incorporate. But I think there is data that
it's
allow them to move. So the
Uh,
will move more.
child. Who is anyone in here the childhood obesity one? Yes. Okay. Terrific. Remind me your name. Andre. Yes, Andre. Narges, do you think you might be able to?
Andre?
So I think that.
Okay. And again, the last name is Andre
But I don't
Portela. That's right. Okay.
Okay, so I'm gonna go figure out where Clara
And Kemute, do you want to join? Because you're interested in obesity as well. Can you join in this group? We can get a breakout if needed. Christine, I noticed a number of the breakout rooms were occupied by other groups. Okay. Hi.
So I kind of have some ideas in my head for projects.
Okay.
I haven't really started on
So
them yet.
much is the
Would you be open to helping with a project?
Yeah, kind of an idea that I
Okay. Okay. Sure. Sure. Okay.
there is the aging and there is
So-
how they come in. They come in.
That's what rules are. It's like, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yep. That watch the videos? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So for example, for this,
Yeah.
the population will be one because it's one.
Okay. Oh, okay. Sure. I think a lot of the so I think that's interesting, and I think it is
I don't know. I think they
something
are-
that obviously
they are
characterizes
sorting the boxes.
different production lines, including with YouTube, right? Where you can come. The part of the challenge there, I think, would be to come up with a
It's like the liver.
sort of
So this is the person.
a
you're asking me
reasonable,
where the person is, and
reasonably
you can-
simple, but sort
Even
of
though we are counting.
face plausible way of sort of saying,
Like the cells.
okay, on what can people comment on a video? You know, there need to be certain aspects that they can then, you know, that a person would give feedback on,
They're actually doing a
that
whole thing on the screen.
could then be used to improve the content. So there need to be, for a given video, some aspect of kind of contents of that video along a couple dimensions that people might comment on and that people might then try to improve, the creator might try to improve, right? And so it may be like that each video
For ours,
has,
we have
just having an idea, like
a model within a model, so we
Oh,
have a system
okay.
dynamic model
you know,
inside.
an 8-element vector or something like that.
I just wanted to make
from
sure
0
if
to
you
100
wanted
is
to-
8 different
Fine.
attributes. or
Yeah,
something.
you're good. No, that's perfect. I just wanted to make
Clarity
sure
of
if you guys were
presentation,
on the same page.
Relevance of contents, you know, use of visually appearing elements or whatever, but maybe it's a 4 vector, but you know, that they could get the information. Yeah. Great. Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
See you later.
So I think you'd want to think about that a little bit, like how to characterize the content or the, you know. Great. Sure. Oh yeah, no, I think that's interesting, and I think you can start on that, and you can develop further ideas about ways you might expand it. And it goes without saying, this could be a little project for the coming course. So I'm fully supportive. So what I would suggest is that you try to, I'm gonna need to check some additional sort of discussions here. But what I'd suggest is that you think about it a bit, try to conceptualize it, and then try to talk with some of the other TAs as well, as needed to advance it. I'd like to talk with you just a sec too. Does that make sense? So I'm fully supportive. I think that's great. And just grab a TA if you want to have some discussions, okay? Yeah. Good. Good. Hi. I just want to make sure, are you with a group? Oh, John. Oh, okay. Excellent. Okay. And how's that coming? Yeah. Any other? Okay.
This one influences
Okay. And, but it's got performance challenges? Or is it slow? Okay.
In this case, Unit Tech will be able to.
Yeah, and it reapplies to networks for everyone. Okay, yeah, so. Okay, so there's basically two big ways to do this, okay? There are two big suggestions. Do we want to go where it's good? Okay. Okay, let me get my tea.
And by the way, I'm so sorry for the misunderstanding that happened. I talked with Alan and he said that maybe I think we are not supposed to teach because of this. Maybe someday we talked that Nate is going to do that. I don't know.
Okay, I thought that was for the presentation yesterday and this morning, but I thought these ones.
So sorry for that. But
Yeah.
there is another session for us, for me and Alan. So we
Okay,
will do that.
so you'll do that.
So we will do
Okay,
that.
great,
We will
great,
prepare for
appreciate
that.
that. Appreciate that.
Sorry for.
No. I mean, it's good to get that clarified. But if you could do the next one, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is the problem with John now. I mean,
With-
this is the applying
Yeah.
it.
So is Rifat there?
Rifat is sitting over there, but there is also Tara. You know Tara.
Tara
Sagedi?
Sagedi?
She also joined us because
Okay.
she has no idea about. She's going to work on mosquitoes, but she has no research question for this, so
Yeah.
she just joined us to
Okay.
get some idea
Exactly.
from John. And
Yeah, no, I think that's good. Okay, so the basic two approaches are, number one, you you explicitly add in through add connection for the newborn. You add a connection to each person, okay? Like in their mother's social network or something like
if
that.
they are connected with, I mean, their mother is. I have seen a model that mother is connected with few people, and if a newborn is coming,
They get
they're
added to
getting
the same people. Right.
Yeah.
So that would be one way to sort of treat it.
Yeah.
Another way to treat it would be if we had a different way of sort of rewiring the connections, keeping track of the connections in our own way. And Winchell has done this actually in a separate model of pertussis.
So it comes from a kind of a distribution.
Oh no, he actually keeps track, and he and I have discussed this because I gave some suggestions for him. But basically you have a spatially explicit grid and you keep track of who's in what grid square, and that allows you to figure out who might be nearby to a much smaller group.
Okay.
So you have a sort of a spatial data structure. Cheryl, do you need
That
to?
updated model right away. I haven't had a chance
So,
to check those matrices.
so do we want to go talk? Do you need me?
Just for 5 minutes sometime.
Okay.
Theoretical question, you mostly have to listen, you don't have to talk, and then you kind of give us a quick
Okay.
2 cents on something.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll do that. Thanks, Cheryl. Okay, let's go over to. Should we go over to John? Well, I'm going to leave it there and let it see for a little bit. Okay,
This one, you actually action.
We want to start a new experiment. So
After our,
here is
I think we're not maintaining the you have to maintain it. Once you do it,
if you want to run the model with
Yes.
so I think should be a parameter variation experiment.
this can actually use, I mean, like, where, at what point,
This guy's gonna be 5.8 days.
I don't
This
know.
one's 6.9
I felt
days.
this was more.
So all I do is I move forward to 5.8, and I do that task. Does anyone else need to do something? And I put comments here.
Yeah, from what,
That means
from
I
what,
can do it any time.
Right now you can define the number of ones. So here right now it's experiment. And then change our task. So here you can also define all the parameters.
background.
area, so here is the tag and the column, rows and columns one, so we will have just one tag.
Yeah, I want to choose one eventually. Yeah, eventually,
They can actually run
kind of
one time,
let's
so
go
running all you need to put something
background.
like this. But also in this experiment, you also show
When we work, also for us.
yeah, this
Because right now, I don't know which results are showing the prevalence.
Okay.
I have not seen those graphs.
yeah, and the prevalence with what kind of prevalence?
It was, yeah, I saw those graphs last time, so it was like
And
this, so it was
also,
over
for
time.
now,
And then they have the prevalence
I don't know whether you could
of
actually
chronic wasting disease, so it was the ones that get sick, the
given
ones that
certain
get
conditions. So what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, I don't really have to theoretical background to actually find out how people is going to come about. So if I start now, I have just think together there.
Very big number.
Yeah, okay, safety backpacks, is that
I saw those graphs because they had a line that said adult female, male.
I saw one material that talks about
I was looking at the screen and
this
then I
kind of
couldn't find it.
state track. So I was just trying
I
to
don't know. Is there any way to know if they were related?
I didn't see any plot here.
It was a struggle for me, but now I've gone through it, so I understand.
So if you want to check, you can see here, like endless data, and consolidated variables, parameters, presentations. There's no but here's something. Oh, it's in the mesh. This, all of this, the blog they have. This one, you see?
Okay.
Once we got the page, we see.
Not only for them, you know the model enough to describe it in ways. Yeah.
Because I know this needs to be corrected. Because they calculated this.
Yeah. Chocolate, yeah, exactly.
Correct.
This would be the regular preventive.
It was a so now the values have changed.
So that could be,
Okay.
so what is your?
More or less exposed.
So we need to change the language.
Yeah, but I don't know if there is a better way to do it because you see there are so many. Can you just change them over?
No, we can go back to see what that is as a bigger range for So what's the name of it?
Normalized preference matrix.
Because let's write down on the search engine. It's the same with the other documents. Control F and search
Yeah, there will be one for finding, one for pre-rod, and one for rod.
Over time,
This one is ignore. Ignore means it's not used.
And the other one was active, right? It was not great.
Yes, if you unclick it, it becomes colorful and this. So that means this one can be used in your model. So we need to change the way of this. We need to change all of this classes.
there is a simple model. So you could recreate positive values. Meaning is, let's say that everything else is fixed.
Yes.
Sensitivity.
Right. Yeah, because there's no other function, the other things like how to go
Geographic.
In terms of the number of
And do you think this is the one? This is exactly what this is for sure the one that we were looking.
Is there the name?
No, I was exactly. It says it's called preference matrix. And this is within this.
Just ignoring or fixing, keeping it constant. Environment, it's the cues.
Good, because Maria is working here on her model associated with, this is with deer, mule deer. I don't know, do you want to co-locate with Clark? Do you have someone working with you?
Yeah, I'm working with Tina right now.
Oh, you're Tina?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Okay, I don't know if you want to work in the same room, you know, ungulates, or You have different questions.
Yeah.
Is this an aggregate model system?
This is now in patches, so we have this system dynamics model
Yeah.
in a single patch.
Yeah, no, I think. Oh, believe me, I was probably working on with. Okay, where's the model? Hey, yeah, I know this. I know this one. This is the one. Believe me, this is. I may have been working on this before you came as a PhD student. Yeah. I know this thing so well. This is. Yeah, I know this thing ultra well.
Yeah, it's a quite large dynamic model.
Yeah.
inside the agent.
Is it broken?
It's no, but we need to add certain little things that I have no idea what they are. Like I have a list of things that Cheryl gave me. Like
Okay, was this the one Nathan is working on?
yeah.
Okay, so I need to speak with Cheryl. I asked Nathan about coming here. Okay, so I don't mean to grab you. It sounds like this is not an agent-based version of CWD. You know, I heard a rumor. Okay, that we have this model of deer behavior in agent-based running. So that might be relevant, but yeah, you can feel it. I'm sorry, as long as you're working with someone, awesome. CWD model with the deer moving around. I think Winchell may have fixed it.
Oh no, because that is a cute model that everybody can.
Oh, everyone
And this one
can.
is just like.
Okay, I know about this model. I know all about it. Can we talk with Cheryl? Can I?
She's in love with a new model.
Which one is that?
Something about birds and hens.
Is this pens?
Or in cows.
Is this cows
There's about
and
cows.
hens? Hens?
Yeah.
Hens and pens?
Yes. So boring cows. Like when you compare it with.
You know Christine, my secretary?
Yes.
I'll tell you a secret. She tells me certain offices at the university, she calls them hen's nests. There must be people like peck each other. So can I see if I can get Cheryl? Is that okay?
That would be fantastic.
Okay. I'll go see if I can get her over here. Okay? She needs to talk with me for 5 minutes, and perhaps I can lure her to talk with us, at least for 5 minutes. What do you think?
That would be terrific.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't need to work on that.
Oh, you are? Yeah, but now that's been, so the stakeholders.
Hello.
Hi, do you need me for 5 minutes?
Yes, we need you for 5 minutes.
Okay, but I will do this on the condition that we can get you to work with us for 5 minutes?
Yes.
On a model of CWD that involves this person,
We have a
She will be able to read for your
My project is basically master's joint project is states.
Because I think the idea of this model is to be able to capture things that nobody else has captured before. Because models sometimes raising disease have been out there for a while. But they all assume that all the agents, everything is the same, so that they have the same risk and getting. So with this one, I think the idea was to somehow add that consistency, but they prefer, for example, females prefer other females, and males prefer other males. And how they change it according to, because they are very, like their biology is very well defined in the year. So all of them give birth at the same time. So then from there, even behavior depends on that. They really, I think their lives are just give birth and get ready for get pregnant. Again, give birth and get ready for get pregnant. So you see all these patterns throughout the season. The season is give birth, and then it's pre-rut, that is where they fight for female. Then they mate, rut, and then they get pregnant. And that's winter. And then they give birth. So it's very seasonal. So
we need to add another concept. So let's go back to it and research that.
yeah. Because the idea, I think, is that they want me to keep working on this, but I don't have the capacity to work on it as a more. But if we could learn how to find those
the
areas.
essence of cluelessness. So you're going to have to educate me, okay? But I'm going to ask some fun questions. So, at an intuitive level, I would think that what's going on at a genetic level would induce
So that's all within time.
so that
Yes, all
types of
starting
mutations
with
genetic
all
might be
have the
selected for
unnormalized inside the
might
So when you search
induce
this,
resistance
here,
because
the unnormalized preference even not at
and
the beginning, it can be
mutations and selection would be occurring at a genetic level.
is this one, right?
Exactly. Precisely. There be a certain amount of variability in the population genetically
Any of them.
associated with bugs, and application of drugs would narrow that population resistance and skew it towards,
Because, for example, I found these comes from something like nature.
and so phenotypes that we think of as these kind of emergent properties.
I created this in such a way
What you guys have seen
that now I
would have sort of a characteristic. Is this,
and also I
is this,
said,
So there was a study that.
this
They are.
for example,
bug with this
this is a
collection
string for any
drug
logic.
resistant.
There was a
Because I
study
saw
where
that
I
all this
Or
is
the
like
degree
that.
to which it is drug resistant.
But
perhaps,
it
is
breaks from
a number of
here
What
to
you
here.
did is you made an assumption
Then it
about
the answer.
the agent.
It's actually one line.
So it's just for me to be able to really
Somebody who's.
that may be helpful for me to say, this person functions, but it's actually entering
This is the space, it's not
There might be another
necessary.
question.
This is,
but it's not
Potentially
making
doesn't mean
any,
another
not
question.
having any.
no, so you
Sort
can
of
just
selective
copy
advocacy
it
collection
as
genes
long as
and
we got those.
with one set being,
Yeah.
there could be another set that
Put
is
all these
the
numbers
different
in
set
one
of
line, several
and
lines,
so any
whatever
number
you
could
have.
be,
As long as
there
you
could
have
be resistant or not resistant.
These will read. And then how this does this know that this is what I put in the sample file? Very
The order is important.
There's,
How do I know what is this? Like if I look at the model, how do I know this is adult female?
Generated a table, there were 3 or 4.
Sort of a long
Because
time.
this for me, the way I see it, it's always made a matrix. But then, how do I know that I am making a
Yeah, so here is
So then what he does, he fits the
Actually,
this function, so we
compares the different values.
it's actually looking at,
This is not
it's
generative.
it's not like a drug resistance, it's looking at.
This doesn't say, okay, well, if it's so if that happened in this targeted distribution, how is it going
And
to
so he has an allele level
It's not that serious.
using
The role of this is if you find that, for example, this target
associated with
you have, let's say you have, let's say you have, equals 0.01. And then in this, in the target group, you have, let's say your lambda equals 0.00. All the other numbers are the same.
What this does that shows you is that this, the reason why, what they looked at was the final sort of 14 state of population, and then they would look at the target percentage. They just slightly share or no smoking, which is less, so it works. P-value wasn't 5, yeah, it was correct. And what he's saying is, why did it work? You know, if these numbers are the same, but this one is much lower in the target group, then what that might tell you is that in this particular targeted intervention, it didn't change, it didn't increase somebody's chance to make a good attempt. It didn't increase somebody's
face possibility in sort of
what it did is
story
once they get to
or
this
familiar.
stage, because this might be, this is where they're like experimenting with cigarettes. And so then when they experiment with cigarettes, if they're like long-term,
those things are.
and they like test a little bit, they start having withdrawal again because they're not. So they're kind of experimenting, and now slowly become full-time users.
So my biggest concern, so at a conceptual level,
This model here, this
at a
These are the
at a
like
story level,
saying,
this is basically
I want,
supposed to be reassuring.
say
Oh yeah, you've
here,
got that
and then
genetic
here.
base, genetic
No,
this is basically
But that might be
It's a little bit different, but it's basically the same thing.
My
So in this case, this model was used not to
is there
make
so
any
much
predictions.
I think when
So
I
what happens
click
if you do
edit,
is how
it
like
gives me a.
that that way lies.
Rather, it's used to look back on past and say, actually, how did this work? What did this targeted do?
The kind of base ability to put something in.
My targeted intervention stopped people from experimenting with cigarettes unless they got full abstinence. But that's different from years, which increased somebody
Well
close
enough
enough with
with the trace plausibility, we could have.
And so you might find that
phenotype.
this is a more significant leverage point on this one.
Is there enough that we can do
So
something?
the model as it sits right now is a bit more like this.
Back to this other
It doesn't
model,
look like you're
Daniel,
assuming.
we thought about this quite a bit.
There's a safe slide,
And we thought about it quite well. And there's,
if you ask them to
there are these models that
social
are
networks,
excellent,
social communication
there, and there's.
there's going to be any types of, within person feedback.
This annual model.
So if you have another mechanism where you put in there,
Folks, it didn't really have genetic data at all.
current,
Real genetic
or you're in, the longer you'll stay.
Yeah,
Right? The more times you have, so you might have a little event that says you have a singular NDE for a single day, and then if it lasts for 12 or 14 days, then you enter the first day. So now you might say, well, the more I have, the more I'm likely to have in the future. So that's a feedback within the person. This one doesn't have any feedback. Looks like this one doesn't have feedback, which is fine. So the question that we want to ask is or one question we might want to ask.
At some point, yeah.
So we had an interview study. What are the interventions? What mechanism do you think the study probably worked on? See, this is only about groups.
Oh, okay.
So there's groups might be one of the areas where we want to why. So what is it then about the groups that makes it better? So we might then there might be another sleep chart which is talking about coping ability or something. And if you're in a group, then my level and it goes up a little bit, then I send it out to the people in my physical space and sort of send a message saying, I'm doing better or I'm helping or whatever, and it kind of helps them do better. And if you have the same intervention but no groups, then the population doesn't really get
Okay, so
so that would be a mechanism. Rather than this is technically an age model because there's a bunch of agents and they all have behavior. It's a bit more simplistic.
So I also remember like it was a real kind of bizarre thing. Is that the evidence model was what he provided this year? Yeah, knowledge is this concept.
Yeah, I mean, replicate.
The plasmids like stick to the
Explain. Oh, this is the catch.
So
On board, how we design and test. Let's say for performance.
yeah,
Make sure
they
that
live separately from it.
So it can be in the gut, just loosen it up.
cut the old chestnut and
It's
send
what,
the dog about
1 year of this is there is sex,
Good DNA, you know,
all the
expressed in the RNA, proteins, or whatever it is.
Here, different like by sex.
Yeah.
I don't know about tuberculosis, but I know mycoplasma is choice.
There mycobacteria, what that leads to, but their nature. So, okay, so I guess the question in my mind is that these issues are well enough understood, it could plausibly approximated by, you know, a characterization that would still be insightful to know what's going on in the physiology level, or is it just so
Maybe when you're like,
no,
because if we know that the value intervention
that,
is really
you know, if you go down that road, you spend years worrying about what's going on here to give.
What is it about your targeted intervention that's using people's hands and trying to see something again? That directs a little bit of your research into what might
we share the other day what
And from there, what you do is you build models and say, well, is that, does this assumption, does it actually, is it possible? Would it maybe do that?
and then we say, okay, we know these values are
You don't.
Yeah, so it sounds like they want to
6 months old female.
Up there, not Jeff, but the gregarian. You need to speak with the
Yes.
gregarian.
But that's how they did it because
Yeah, that's what you need to do.
they assumed that adult female,
Very similar to this, where
they divided
you
it
have
into so
to
many
just turn on, turn off,
that you don't
swap
have
in
the
one representation
you know,
of
because
this,
they
swap in a
divided here
different
from 0 to 6
organ.
months old.
And he does so
6 months old
with
to
elements of
So,
Krugerian
look,
finesse.
Your
They're really
mechanism doesn't have to be
impressive.
behavioral mechanism of the person.
2.5,
And
3.5, but in reality,
mechanism-
we don't have data for all of them. So we
yeah,
just
so you
have
should
to
run
adult.
You could data and be like, you know that if we do this,
And then we say,
in the
okay,
scenario,
whatever
we'll just
is
say,
in
probably
adult
just
cases,
their
we will copy
presentation. So just,
every
the overall model is the same.
then your question becomes, how do we study a mechanism in the end, whether it's basically one reach or one. You build a city, we have
the other
businesses,
rest of the
city,
model is the same.
we have,
It's just
we have
that part of the
spear
model
events,
is
we have little discrete events.
Now you go to
But then
clinics,
we
maybe
are
there's
also
a
meeting someone
give
like,
that
I don't know how
face
to
possibility that, look, we're not.
Yes, and then you have,
We're
now you go there,
not
and
blowing
then-
up,
Like-
we're
like
interested in
that.
partnerships,
It's very
help us
strict.
better spell this out. This is the
And the thing
basic
there is-
mechanics of
the
it,
advantage
we've
there
got
is
some
that
ideas about this,
very-
but,
Let me save this one.
but, you know, we need the data or access to the sort of understanding and form of those familiar with this to put in place. But I see what you mean, that's
Very
similar
hard.
to you.
But if your question is
They,
really,
they understand the mechanics at this
And
level.
just in my
They say,
email.
if you don't have that, and how do we have any confidence of this? Is that,
so then maybe what we're doing, what we're considering is basically an agent-based model with a bunch of discrete event clinics.
yeah, and so they say, if you don't have this, you're just barking.
Agents of those clinics. Agents are our trainers, staff, yeah? Yeah, so then you have, you have the,
Where I
you
have
have,
if that
the
is to
resources
say
and
which
the
season or free ride.
maybe resources.
So we have data, but we don't have trigger.
So if you want email, but you know, is it
So it sounds like
this
it's
is
so-
like a matrix.
So,
Okay.
It's like
so,
I had male.
Yes.
but I agree that experimenting with this and trialing it out in a way that's completely
You can have a
substantive.
section in it where like, this is what the model is currently doing, and you can be like, this is the model, but it's.
And then we have values.
And it's just, I can show you the.
And these needs are arranged.
Probably the best place to start is text out in a Word document. You just sort of type for yourself, like, what is the model currently doing, and assume you would like to
So maybe it would be easier if we.
And once it goes through the
Throw Kurt, Mitchell, and myself in the boost house get us in the jail for a few days. We might be able to come up with a strategy.
So this is, this is very
But how they.
I've got it, maybe it's not
Right,
right.
I definitely try this, and I think you should model it off of the Krugerian strategy of delight.
You're making it hard to have a conversation with another person because I keep hearing my name.
Yeah, it's okay, but don't hear safe.
Commentary. I mean, it's not because it's distracting, it's because my ego is going, whoa, what's that, what's that? Okay, so you have to decide exactly how you want to describe the scope, whether you want to do like meetings or you want to have some variety of
I think they are.
So then it sounds, then what we want to do is we'll actually want to pull that out. And it sounds like your question is about
Basics of what's going
implementation.
on here enough that you could at least
So, what we can do is we can use the data
characterize something about the
from
phenotypic implications of the dynamics at this level that somehow they can formulate an abstraction question that says, okay, this is
So
what's
the
going
point
on
is that
at
we
the lowest
use
level
data
scenes
to get
and
statistical
this is the
statistical
phenotype you
behavior.
get out. This is the level of consistency.
Behavior.
Yes.
Maybe depression. So what we're saying here in the current is that our description of this disease behavior you probably
Online is very good.
This is very attractive. Even if you took half a,
I have, you also have. I haven't got any system dynamics yet. So what's the
It's
problem?
different. I need to
So your
replace
question really
these
is
values with new values that we have. But then I don't know if I can do it from here, or if I need to use the edit thing, or if I want to do it from here, how can I know what is that?
So once we get this,
Inputs and dictionary and stuff,
we can start
yeah.
the order of
Remember
the
the
that's the order, but is there a
Molly.
Presumably you have some.
Yeah.
And the biggest one
Which is just, you know, you give some insight, but it doesn't get nearly what you can get with the
How long it takes to get trained, how many
So,
cases
I really think it requires something
This is
interesting.
one.
how much is
experience
Yeah, for me, it's not just a one time.
Get out something.
Replace this number with
And all we're doing then is we're just using
That,
their
those are the numbers. Well, I have field.
Oh, you need to
I
replace
mean,
later, yeah?
Yeah, but then the thing is that I don't know if this is the one.
But even then you
know,
can
like
look at
this is called the contact rate between a female that is 0 to 6 months old
Right.
with a male that is 0 to 6 months old.
Uh-huh.
Is it? Or is it?
Yeah.
We have
Haven't you built this or?
No.
That's why you don't. Yeah.
So there is no way to say, give like how much program, give me this question.
I understand
Well,
there are
using
using
this,
English sentences. I don't get the numbers or like something like that. I'm a little bit busy on that. So if we can do this description of like, what is the current use? It seems to me that this is a good.
So, but the interesting question is, this is a really solid, or is it just, is
Yes,
You identify basically.
and we have 5 of different seasons over the year.
Yeah.
And this is really the part where you need an ABM.
And I think
This
that
is
is
not the part where you
multiplying
necessarily
something
should
here.
Yeah.
But it's helpful to run the model and say, yes, with the statistical model that we have, we're getting a number that does make sense. So the model is straightforward as that. That's right. So you've got a nice valid model and that you know what shows that it's normal that your model is valid. Valid doesn't necessarily mean useful. It just means that it's not wrong. But it doesn't mean it's good. Yeah.
Alright, thank you.
Yeah, so I would focus on this stuff, try to, and then once we can describe this, focus on what model the shape is usually under manufacturer. Try to build something on it. So that's, there we go. What was the event? I'll be back.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of leverage on
No, this is great.
Kurt?
So can we borrow you for 5 minutes to help us with a CWD model that another researcher, investigator would like to see? Yeah. Yeah. Would it be helpful to send would that be useful? Okay. Okay.
In your group, the eyes always have it.
He said, I suspect.
Printed it and then I know this value is for females versus
Oh, totally. It's just
so that's how I came up.
right. So maybe you could you help? Are you still working very closely here?
Yeah, giving her a few minutes or some time.
Could you speak?
I'll go there, but I have to go here first. I just had a
Oh,
question.
okay.
When are we?
Yeah, we
today?
Well, we have the poster set. Yeah. Until when is that?
Yeah.
I think 7 or 8.
It's done at 7 or 8?
I think it's probably closer to 8. But I've got to check with Tom.
say.
I guess I could look in the file.
Yeah, I would look in the file. Okay.
My apologies.
So this is a researcher who knows quite a bit about CWD,
Okay, I'll
and I
let-
think she could inform.
Marie and I have been spending much quality time together trying to debug this disaster, but yes.
Okay, so where are we at with Nathan?
Okay, I think well, he kind of ran into a bit of a roadblock because we were trying to do sort of the easy sort of 100 simulations and gather the data things, and he was trying to do it on the free version, and then I think he probably kind of got tired and cranky. We were doing really good up to about the end of June, and then we kind of, there was summer, we sort of disappeared for several weekends, and we just kind of ran out of time. But
So is he gone now? Or?
Well, I don't know if he's gone, or if he's partially gone, so I don't really know the answer.
Because I sent a mail about the boot camp
Yeah,
saying,
yeah.
but I didn't hear back from him.
Yeah.
So I'm not
So
quite
he
sure.
might be.
So
Yeah.
let me
I
just
don't-
ask, Scott, are you working with Patricia?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
I actually have to do, unfortunately, at the moment, but we got the Hartford entire model kind of defined, and we're sort of building it all tomorrow, maybe Tuesday overnight.
Okay, that's good progress. Then. Okay.
And I apologize for not being able to do all the time. I'm just very busy. I have Alan also looking at it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Good. Okay.
Okay, so what is
So-
there a
so-
specific question
so
or?
Nathan is no longer involved.
Probably not. If he wants to do more, I'm happy to have him, because what he's done a pretty good job of. The thing is some of this stuff is just so messy that you gotta really know where the stuff. There's only so much you can kind of do from a distance, and sadly, Maria and I have spent more hours than we could possibly imagine going through these numbers and making sure that everything is in the right place and that we understand what's going on.
Can you tell me where the pain points are?
The pain points are, the original is it okay if I put my current pain point on the table and then we can go into these other ones? The most profound pain point is the original model for animal contact had contact rates for all of the different age sex groups for different seasons,
I remember
and then
that.
it had a preference matrix over
I
here,
remember that.
right? And then it got
I remember that.
normalized,
Oh, yeah,
and then
yeah.
the two things got
Yeah,
multiplied
yeah, there
together,
was
and we ended
F
up.
and B,
Yeah. There was
yeah, I remember that.
there was the CS matrix and the AS matrix,
Oh,
and
yes.
they came together and they made a nice little.
Yeah.
What you end up with is contact rates between adults and juveniles, males and females for specific seasons,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that's what it multiplies together.
Correct.
Now, the issue is, to do that, when we were in Vensim, we had sex and then we had other sex, right? We had
Oh, I
age,
remember
we
that
had
very
others.
well. Yeah.
Okay, so that's all cool. when it came from Vensim into any logic, very, very awful things happened too. This other sex and other age thing became a subclass of age. Instead of a separate class, it became a subclass, right? And I think I'm using the right words there. Matt
Yeah,
corrected me.
something like this.
Matt, oh yes, something along those lines anyway.
It got twisted in bizarre ways.
Bad things happen, yeah. Okay, so that's fine. So we have now gone through the model and sorted out all of the times where other sex and other age was used when age and sex should have been used.
Correct.
So that's
So you think you've got that?
We-
And you
we've
had the
got-
Benson model as a point of comparison?
The Vensim model was the point of comparison, but it was, most of it is pretty straightforward. Where we're at now is when we were trying to, the ability to view very complicated arrays in
Any
logic
logic.
is the edit function. If you've
Yeah.
just got one row or whatever, you can actually line it up and you
That's
can
right.
look at it in a table, and it's very cool, and we're checked all that, okay? Where we got into a little bit more trouble was this issue of these, the actual matrices,
Yes,
preference
yes,
matrices,
yes.
where we've got, you
Yes.
know, adult males by,
Yeah.
you know, adult females
Yeah.
and juvenile males and all this kind of
That's
stuff.
right, that's right.
So we've got our data, we convinced ourselves the other day that we had it all correct, right? But what we had to do that was we had to get it to read it correctly, in the original thing, and the way it imported, although it didn't do it consistently, so why not? I probably need to pull up the Vensim model to check for sure. It had age, sex, and then it had other age, other sex.
Yeah.
But that doesn't read the matrix right. It doesn't read the
Yeah.
array right to give you the right matrix.
Yeah.
We had to invert so that other came first and animal came second, and then if you look up, you know, if you do a specific query for this combination, you get the right number.
Yeah.
So that was cool, we did that. But then as it extends through the formula, right, it's the reading of the data is other and then other age and then age, right? But when you get into, once it gets into the normalized matrix, when everything comes back together, then age is first and other is second.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's problematic or not, because it's hard to tell off then some model in terms of exactly.
So you're in subscript hell.
We're in subscript hell. This is what we're looking at here. We're looking at things like this, right? And
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
can actually, Maria and I can actually make sense out of this because there's patterns here we can recognize. We can go back to original data. We're convinced we know what this means, and we're convinced that if I've got this flipped the way it's flipped, which no, this is not flipped.
No, the old version.
This is the old version. So you didn't open the new one I sent you, or?
No, the super new one?
Yeah.
That's the one that I received last night.
Okay, no, but I just sent you one like
Right now?
an hour ago. Yeah.
No.
Anyway, so it always starts with, if I start with other age, other sex over here, right, and I can flip that down here. Yeah. Then it reads the matrix correctly. Cancel. Yeah. So this is wrong.
Do you
right?
want me to open it? I can do it.
No, all I need to do is go down here. So if I do, oh my gosh. If I do this
Yeah.
to where it's reading the data,
Yeah.
it gets it right. So if I actually do the little query off the edit function,
Yeah.
if I go in here and I ask for a specific, and I have to,
Yeah.
to do that, I have to actually
Yeah.
put in, adult and male and whatever, and then if I ask for it, how it relates to a juvenile female, I will get the right numbers popping up here. We manually did this the other day.
Yeah.
I am absolutely convinced that that is correct
Okay.
when it's set up like this. Now, if I build this model, which I have done, and it's all correct, I don't get any error messages.
Okay.
All right, so that's fine. But when I start, so that's the data itself. Let's see if we want patch.
Okay, I've got a suggestion.
Okay, so this is these guys here. All the old
Yeah.
original unnormalized matrices, I can get it to read it correctly. But the problem is we start putting these together. We total them.
Yeah.
We do this normalization thing and whatever. And as soon as I get to here, I'm pretty sure right from this point forward.
Wonky things happen.
Well, it has to be,
It has to be, other has to be.
second, yeah, other has to be second, or else I get really, really nasty error messages from any logic gods. And I need to convince myself that it's reading it correctly. It's okay if it's like that here and it's like this here, as long as it's flipping it and reading it correctly.
Correct.
I'm good. We're fine. We're golden. We're ready to go. But if it's not reading it correctly, then,
Okay.
and I think I know.
Okay, so if I could demonstrate that it's reading it correctly, would you be a happy camper?
Yeah, and I've got some ideas on how to do that, but any ideas I've come up with are a lot of work in terms
Okay,
of how to.
no, I think this could be done with an economy of mechanism.
Yeah, and my idea would be that you would just maybe get it to ignore some of those and just look at, just look at one and say, is when I look at that, is that in the right order? I don't know. Anyway, we should be working with the correct version though. So, do you want me to? And I can't really go steal my laptop because they're using my laptop. So if you could just close this and open the correct
Yeah, I
version.
can't believe this is.
And
You're being crucified on the cross of a poor modeling expression. It's horrible.
We've
Horrible.
Marie and I, like I said, we've spent hours, we've actually convinced ourselves, she's gone back and actually updated all the data. So we've got the data in arrays in the right order, we've got everything all cleaned up and
Okay.
nice, we know what it is, but we just need to convince ourselves that this matrix inversion stuff is not.
Okay, so why don't you do this? So what you're doing does not sound unreasonable to me, but I think to take the next step and to double check what you've done, I think what you should do is you should make use of just a tiny bit of code associated with buttons, so that when you push the button, it will print out the variable at this part of the model, this part, this part, this part, and it will print it out in a way that you're completely clear what's going on about the ordering of it. You won't have to depend on the vagaries of any logic's way of happening to render it and stuff. You just go through and you manually tell it, okay, go through this array in this order and print it out. And so that you have complete clarity on the order in which it's actually stored in the data item.
Thank you.
And that is easy to do. You can do it at the initial time, and I don't think it would take more than an hour or two to print out a whole bunch of variables along the way, just to make sure everything is hunky-dory. Now, who amongst us can confirm the integrity of what we see? Does it take a Cheryl? Is a Maria able to verify it?
Yeah. We've got the
Excel file that I
spreadsheets,
have?
yeah, we've got the Excel files, and she knows how to read the Excel files and what we're looking for, so we both are in a position. If we could get a printout of what the program is actually seeing, and you could, compare either electronically or
Okay.
visually,
Okay.
that's,
Good.
I mean.
Okay, I want to see Anupama. Okay, so if we did this, okay, so if I sought the assistance of the Iden or the young Chen
Yeah.
to work with you, can you come over here, because I've seen you polling and I want to see what's going on on the other side of this wall in just a second. So if I give you instructions, could you work to ensure this? Okay, Kurt, have you been freed for the moment?
I was gonna propose you in that direction, but yes.
Okay, could you check what's going on in this group? Sure. Using your roving skills? Okay, okay, Anupama, what's going on over there? As-
Mitchell is still helping them out.
Okay, is there progress being made?
I guess so.
Okay, do you need me to help with something?
Not for the moment. I was just wondering, will we be having the Java class?
Yeah, well, we'll be having the Java class. That's my plan, and I've got to keep track of time now, because I was looking at the Java material earlier, and I'm not sure who's going to give it, other than someone who's sitting right now. And yeah. So let me just come to that, okay? But yes, we will have some Java classes, and I will figure out who's gonna deliver them, shortly, okay? Thank you very much, yeah. What time is it now?
5:10.
Okay, good, okay, thanks. We're gonna be having a poster session tonight, and, we wanna have the Java class and then transition. Okay, so I'm gonna need to instruct these folks, and we'll then transition to Java teaching by the as yet unknown instructor. Okay, okay, but it'll be delivered, okay?
Today, tomorrow, and then there's a couple of more things.
Let's just get her done.
By the end of the week, we'll
Yeah.
be in good shape.
Okay, so where can I find you? Okay, okay, good. Okay, who volunteered to teach Java
It
courses?
has the name shown up.
Can you have the master?
Yeah?
So that, so it's easy to make it convenient, so you're ready to go, okay. All
Okay.
these make
I
it
missed
lead
one
it,
chance
all
to
these
do-
make it
to
lead
have to
it.
remove.
Okay, okay,
You have to make it easy.
okay, I want you to look at this, okay? But let me first, then shall I address my comments to Young Chen?
I think that's probably the reason.
Okay, this is what I need you to do. So, do you know how to add buttons to an interface?
Like simulation interface.
Yes, like here, view, palette. To go add buttons using this, have you done that before?
No.
Okay, so you add a button to the
What you could do is.
experiment.
That doesn't have
To actually add it to main class, okay?
runs faster, doesn't-
You want to advance the model to time 0 using the sort of, you could tell it, it's when you run the model, there's a little thing to like,
Capture some of the main.
you do single step of it, it'll do time 0. You switch to main, view main, and you're gonna want a button that's gonna print out for each of several variables in an order selected by either of the stakeholders here. You're gonna have it report the contents of certain variables in this model.
You might want, maybe just do a version
Okay?
without GS.
Go.
Except they're not
So you know what
variables,
the
right?
internal agent behavior.
They're dynamic variables?
They're just moving through
Variables
some
with the.
Well, I guess they would be dynamic variables. My apologies.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
an
they're
idiot.
dynamic
I'm sorry.
variables.
They're
Yeah,
dynamic
My
variables.
brain is trying to break to me.
Yeah, in main, or in patch.
Also,
Patch.
like,
They're patch.
In patch.
They're patch.
Okay, so do the button
I don't know if you want like.
in patch.
all the stores and whatever.
Okay, you press the button, this button will print out this variable. And you will work with Maria or Cheryl to specify in what order it would be most convenient
Random's
to
probably
print them
the
out.
best start.
So these are gonna be variables which are several subscripts. There's gonna be like age, sex, other sex. And they're gonna say for each, for example, age, or for each sex, print things out for each age. And then within that, for each of the other sexes in a columnar format.
There's six ages and 2 sexes.
6 ages and 2
Totally do
sexes.
parties in that way.
Okay.
By 6 ages and 2 sexes.
Yeah, so you're gonna wanna go through and
The farther to the right.
and basically iterate through these things, in an order they choose.
Kind of like it's very
So-
dense,
so-
it gets less dense gradually.
Yeah, because that's how I have the string
Yeah,
already.
so they're gonna tell you, do this is the outermost one, this is the next, this is the next, this is the next.
Is our.
Your model should
What we
always
need to do
half
is
an
have
hour.
actually, I have a question about the actual model.
Yeah.
That means within half an hour of work, your model
Basically
should
that
be
whole
running.
area of
Maybe it's not good,
all
Trix
of the,
doesn't tell you anything
all of the
interesting,
stuff
but
in
it's
the
always
project
running.
space. Like,
So if you work from that
there's the original
perspective,
data,
you do.
and then
Very simple.
when it's added together, right? And then when it gets
Switching that to
multiplied.
GIS.
So those
See?
three steps.
Yeah, the kind of the first two steps, all the data added together, and then the first time.
Right, so you're gonna iterate
Normalize or
through,
manipulate.
so she may say, like Cheryl may tell you, do it, or Maria may tell you, do it from age category first, or do it for the sex first, for each sex, do it by other sex. So you're gonna basically print out a 2-dimensional structure that's going to look
And the thing is we can
in a
flip it, if we
structure
don't
of
get it
their
right,
choosing.
if we don't get it quite right
Okay.
the first time, we'll just flip it.
So I don't know what you want, like, you tell us,
Yep.
do you want for males, you want, for each other category, female, male, maybe, yeah, okay, male.
Don't worry about the other.
Maybe
the other
then
pieces.
you want age and age, something like that. You know, this might be other sex, and this might be, so other sex, this might be sex.
This is other female,
But
this is other male.
the key thing is, you want them to be 100% clear,
You can do really simple things like that.
100% clear on what's the order this is printed out, so they can compare it with their data.
Those always not real. Just a one-dimensional
This is the
array.
perspective.
Yeah, it is a one-dimensional array that they've organized into things. But this is the horror that they've been going through. This is the nightmare that they've lived through, is to try to turn this into a one-dimensional array. And so they've just organized it visually in this way. But we need to be sure that they have the precise clarity on what's in there, okay? So you will write something that documents visually that says, okay, you know, other sex equals female, you know,
Bring to the age.
you know, female, yeah, for each age. You'll do this. You know what I think you should do?
This is all age, this is other age, right? And this is other sexes, male, female, I don't know.
No, it's. I think you know what I think you should do. You know, my thought is actually gravitating towards a certain specific way of outputting this information. I actually don't think you should do it by printing things out on the console. What I think you should do.
I want it dumped into a database.
I want it dumped or into how about an Excel spreadsheet organized by each of these.
Yeah.
You write it into an Excel spreadsheet, nicely organized and labeled.
And the thing is then we can electronically compare, like I can write the code to electronically, that's
Precisely.
well within my happy place.
Right, and so it might be that this is on one sheet and then another sheet with a different table, another sheet with a different table.
Yeah, I mean, we can paste our original stuff in and then just query that really quickly to see if the two things are the same.
Exactly.
That's not problem.
Exactly. Now, I have a model where it outputs to spreadsheets. In fact, they have more than one model, I think. I've provided them at least one. And you could look at that and see how you write to the spreadsheet. But basically, you write to the spreadsheet, you say, write this to a certain column and row on this sheet.
Yeah.
But that's
And-
absolutely critical for the transparency of this thing. You have to have some way to validate it because this is gobbledygook. Like
Yeah,
it just,
that's exactly right.
We're pretty sure it's correct gobbledygook, but it's
That's horrible.
gobbledygook. Yeah, it's horrible.
This is a horror show. And Cheryl and I have been living through this nightmare now.
We want the nightmare to be done. The nightmare needs to be done. We've got something, I think we've got a cool story here. But it needs to be done.
We began this when each of us wore younger people's shoes. And
Many pairs of shoes ago.
and many students ago. The number of people that worked on this model could occupy a fair bit of the first row of this
And the
room.
thing is some people have made very profound contributions and other people it's kind of been sideways and backwards.
Yeah, sometimes backwards is for sure. We won't mention names, but
No, but the thing is, it's been an interesting experience, but it needs to be done.
so what you need to do is you need to have an output to a spreadsheet in a way that's labeled. Like this is other sex up here, this is sex.
And we
This
can't
is
get
other
sex and
age,
sex mixed up.
this
That's
is
absolutely
precisely.
Absolutely has to be.
And for a given variable, and that will be associated with the sheet, I think, okay? So each variable would print it on its own sheet, Cheryl?
It doesn't matter. It's
And then
fine.
it'll be labeled with the appropriate names, other sex, other age,
We just need
sex,
to be able to know what the model is reading.
and the exact structure, so they are crystal clear. Look through here. Is that okay? Okay.
Should it happen at the end of the model or?
No, the beginning.
Because it's dynamic
The
and changing
beginning.
over time, so.
So in different stages, should be.
No, just once.
Well, I'll start.
Watch this. This is what I have. I don't know if this can run. It can.
Oh, yeah, it should, well, this is, did you open the new version? Yeah, so it's, yeah, it should be correct.
It can't run right now.
Oh, it's fine, ignore that.
It's on there.
Nathan had put in an export function to a spreadsheet that's missing, it'll run. It should run, it just has two little messages that don't matter. It's looking for an Excel sheet that's not there.
Not transparent.
So if you ignore it and run it anyway.
So what you want to do is this
You need to
step.
fix that
See
eventually.
that step? See this? This, Cheryl may want to know about this. So this step functionality, this allows you to get to the start of the model.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Watch
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah,
Ready?
Yeah, just
Okay.
first.
You just press this once. And you notice it goes to time 0?
Yes.
And then you can actually go down to the patch, and there you're at time 0, and so you could have buttons next to
What we
each
want to do is
thing.
just navigate to animal contact.
This thing?
Yeah, find
I
animal
would deal with the
contact.
function code on the program.
And then
Oh,
we can.
God. Oh.
Yeah, so that's where everything is hiding.
I was shocked.
There aren't words.
She said, I love it.
This
Yeah, so
this-
here's.
One minus I.
when I was
here's-
young, I
here's-
loved this model.
Here's.
It's like an abusing child.
Yes, yeah, so here's the data that we put in, and then there's things coming out that we need to check.
Yeah, and so you need here buttons
Yeah.
that are at certain places next to the variables of interest.
Okay.
And by pressing,
Gotcha.
okay, well maybe should there be one button to rule them all
Yeah,
that
so there should
outputs
be
to the
buttons, because there's
spreadsheet?
too many. There's gonna be, so there's 5 here for 5 seasons, and then they come together, and then they get normalized and things. So we need to just check that it's making sense all the way through, at least the first couple of steps.
Can't do anything wrong.
So
Yeah.
beginning and then after the total and after the normalization.
And then how about this?
Um,
Wouldn't that be nice?
well, that would be nice, yeah.
How about this?
Yeah, that would be better yet, yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna have
Yeah,
one
I
button
see.
to rule them all. That button is going to then have code that calls several functions. Each function's job in life will be to export a certain one of these variables to a certain sheet
Yeah.
of this spreadsheet. And it will do so by writing in a self-documenting manner what's in each element of this, so that they can tell with complete clarity what's in each sort of component of this, so that they don't have to second guess what this means. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this can allow them to, in a quite horrendous way, try to manually inspect, but what they really want is all in one place.
Yeah, so we can just, we can just run a simple little query and go, does A equal B, have we got it correct, is there any issue?
Precisely. And you could double check against this just for sanity check,
Yeah.
and make sure it's
Yeah.
working. Is that okay?
So,
Yes.
because I forgot about
Okay,
the button.
okay, can I go look, here, I'll refer you, thank you, Cheryl. Here we go, where is my, Windows Explorer, or Windows Explorer? How can I call for Windows Explorer?
You can use the Google Chrome.
No, I wanna, this, okay, USB this. Any logic 8 examples. Okay, watch this. There's one in here that says something about output, I think. Output. Maybe it didn't pass the inclusion criteria. There's something about SIR, agent based with output. I don't see it here.
Search SIR.
Well, you can have.
Well, let me check on my computer. May I do that?
Does it need a data set to keep the data and then put in that spreadsheet, or can it directly?
No, you can put in the spreadsheet directly by cell. Okay. Okay, so
I think I have done the output Excel in my smoking model, but it's not a sophisticated one. It's
yeah,
just
yeah,
one
okay.
spread,
Okay.
one like sheet.
Why isn't this okay? Boot camps. Here we go. Oh no. We want consensus ABM. Okay, this here we are. Example models. Deprecated. This is what I want to see what was there originally. There was this thing. Actually, you know what it was? Let's go to that sheets. There was that. Remember, there was that sheet. Remember where I was passing judgment on particular models?
Yeah. It was on.
Model library here,
Oh, yeah,
right?
You can do that, right? I mean, what you can do is just, you'll get it. You can set
Excel output and input model, and I think it did. Could you go check if you have a model? Here. Actually, it was called Excel output and input model. Here, Excel. Yeah, we have it.
Yeah, I see it.
Got or not?
Right. Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so if you open up that model, it will output to Excel, okay? The question is, does it output in terms of particular cells, okay? Why don't you check, okay? Not merely data sets, okay? Okay, now, who signed up to give these boot camp lectures on Java?
I guess there are two issues. One is,
Who did the the fox has shown its tail? Okay. Okay. No one has claimed them? I'm doing the Java thing. I was hoping someone else was doing it, but there's no one else to do it, and therefore responsibility falls to me. So I am going to avail myself of the facilities, and then I will repair to S386, and I will announce their openness for business in just a minute. Okay. Okay. So why don't you open that and see if you can. There's a thing, something like right. Okay. Yeah. See that create cell, set cell value.
Yes.
Huli de way back. So here you are setting this income into this sheet with this row index and this column.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, and you're going through this. This can provide you a sense of what you have to do. Good or not? This up here, you're writing a whole data set, but this provides you with this create cell, set cell value. And what I can actually do is, okay, I'm needed too many places at once. Okay, let me just engage in search behavior. So let me stop this. Okay. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to go to classes, consensus, example models, any logic. Hey, come on. Any logic, 8 examples, that's right. And we want to do find dot minus name star dot ALP minus exec grep. What's it called? Set cell value? How's that going, John? Is it going
Yes,
okay?
that's cell value.
Okay. A set cell value? Okay. Okay, so here we are. I'm finding some places it's done. Let me print out the names of that. Print. Okay, so it's located in, yeah, Excel output, and then it's also located in. Oh no, that's where it is. That's where it is. That's the only place. Okay, so that's where it is, and that's what you can refer to. Okay. Could you work to do that?
Yeah.
A few hours could save huge amounts of worry on the part of several investigators who stand in this room. Cheryl yonder, and me, or me, hither, and her yon. Okay? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to avail myself of the facilities, and then I'm going to repair the Java tutorials.
Sit down, guys.
Use whichever. So I think smaller. You want?
Why doesn't she do that?
Yeah.
This is the problem that we got with other
The property, right? Yeah, the property we know is fine.
But if you click on this again, does it show changes? No.
No.
It doesn't change. You see, it's very, it's a problem if it's not too
Yeah. And then it's a matter of really keeping it simple.
What?
Close the properties again, and this build on the view again after clicking on the button.
Okay.
No, no.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, they
The way you write it, you write your brain or write things. Okay.
do that, maybe this having.
All right, so you're basically.
We need like set to.
So it happened again.
If they're parallelly close, people houses.
So we open the.
Is there a conceptual?
You have the model?
Yes.
Why can't
Well,
cosmetics?
It's right there, it's very sorry. Yeah, I don't have any
I hope they can model.
Probably.
Yes.
Okay,
on this floor, cancel on the file.
Here's our discussion. Let's discuss. Here's our more updated one. And that's a nice little ring on us. It's like, my professional was to somebody asked, what's a new example?
Where is
What are you looking? For the where that you put the button?
the button, yeah.
Wasn't it here in the page and then we can use
Go to the presentation.
instead of doing that, I think
Then they use that usually to contact make
this one?
Yeah, go to animal
Animal
contact.
contact.
Then it's maybe
There.
Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, but it's not showing.
It's not showing. That's fine. So it's big cell. I think in the event it also define the cell size. There is
You need to put
Yeah,
from the
put the-
connectivity. This one. You need to put Excel.
Excel.
But it can be in here or in the main. I don't know. You can just send the data to. Also, to the main. I don't know.
Model.
Get the information that like oh yeah, you can do that. Easier.
So
Cabin? You're connected to your cabin?
Nope.
So that's
It's really on desktop.
Yeah, that's not.
And then I said it.
Here's the copies. You don't need it, right? It has a-
This is using the data set.
Yeah.
So
I know you can write that in right direction.
So this is what happening. So the name of the folder, the name of the file, that creates just this one.
Yeah.
Set cell that creates
Yeah,
cell.
that's
You need to
right.
first create it and then
I haven't done this before.
you have done.
Such an idiot. Well, the yellow button thing would have saved us a lot of hassle the other day, but this will be way better and more reproducible, but this is better, but I just wasn't even, if we were using edit thing that I thought about the time zero, you know. But,
Getting to be on
yeah, no, this, going forward, this is exactly what we need to see. What we're looking at, but, if you're in doubt at all, like, you can, yeah, we can do this on, we can run, you don't have to stay around here for that, there's more stuff here that you can, you need to run, you can, but. I think we're heading in the right
Okay.
direction.
Mitchell, I need to ask you a quick question.
Jigging the model.
Where is the
find
dot
out what
cloud?
objectives
Then the
we
bottom
need
is
to
addressed in the
calibration.
But you can do that, but you can also try to do it in the
Okay?
action.
And it should just be so much pressing button and changing things.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we will launch.
Yeah, but
Within
you're
Yeah.
using it
5 minutes,
right.
we will launch the Java tutorials in S387.
But on the startup or something.
I'm going now to set up.
Yeah, that's right.
Is this mine or is this yours?
Yours.
This is mine. Okay. Okay, Young Chen is working. 386. It's just down there. I'm going to go there in just one moment here.
The parameter
Right,
name.
right.
Parameter name.
This is the shape.
Oh, this is for creating the
Yeah.
setting.
Setting, so
So if you want, I don't know what
The Java tutorials are about to begin.